You're listening to
And such a short amount of time to do it in. We were really
a Mamma Mia podcast.
Hi, I'm Mia Friedman, and welcome to No Filter, a podcast series where I chat to interesting people in the media industry about their careers, their families, their secrets, and their life. It's a one-on-one conversation, and it has no filter. A lot like my mouth. Paul Murray is a journalist, radio host, and father of two. Having started his career in the 2GB Newsroom in 1998, Paul went on to host his own acclaimed radio show on various stations across the Sydney area. Now the host of his own TV show, Paul Murray Live, on Sky News every weeknight at 9, Paul has an opinion on everything. Today on No Filter, I talk to Paul about his career, about the tragedy of losing his son Leo in 2012, and about how hard it is to have an opinion on everything. You're a dad.
Kind of awesome.
Again, for the second time.
Thank you. And thank you for saying that too.
Oh, is everyone... Oh, you're a dad, first time. Like, you know, we've always talked very openly about Leo, your firstborn, the big brother of Asher, your little girl who you've had just a couple of months ago. What's it like the second time?
I'm glad that she's a little girl for a billion different reasons. But because we only had Leo for a day and a half, that's his experience, and I suppose the fact that that's my little boy's experience means that my little girl's experience could be different. So the chance to see her hit a week, hit 2 weeks, all the rest of that is
Hit 2 days.
Yeah, is pretty amazing.
Take her home. Like, I can't imagine...
That was freaky.
I know I can be totally open with you, but
Yeah.
do you feel like the ghost of Leo is everywhere with you? Like, coming home from the hospital, that he didn't get to, you know, like... do
Yeah,
you feel him?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Is that I remember, you know, we obviously had a nursery set up for Leo, but the fact that he never made it to that nursery means that sort of for a while we called it Leo's room, but then we didn't call it Leo's room. It just was the nursery. So as Asher became a chance and a possibility and a reality, and, you know, thank God, wow, okay, Christmas Day, that's hers now. So instantly our house has changed, where there's a lot of Leo in our house. There's like a big photo in our bedroom that we had at the memorial service. There's a photo in the lounge room. There's, you know, his ashes are by my bedside. You know, he's really in our house. But it's Asher's experience now, and it's Asher leaving the hospital, and it's that. And she's protected by her mummy and her daddy and her big brother. And so for me, it's not about the sadness of what couldn't be there, but the reality is he's around her.
Is it bittersweet or just sweet?
Oh, it's absolutely bittersweet.
Yeah.
It's you know, I wish my little boy was 2.5 and I was giggling at him swearing and
shooting you with a gun.
Yeah, I desperately wish that, you know, every time I go into a shop and see those awesome metal red toy cars, those sort of little ones you can sort of ride like a bike, that should be my little boy's car. I remember when this sounds so bogan, but when I went, I should be watching the footy with him, I should be watching car racing, I should be getting strangely excited and shoving a new Star Wars movie down his throat, you know, at 2.5, but still. But I made a real promise to myself after when Leo died, which was I have to live the life that he can't, and I have to be the dad that I always would have been, which is 1 foot in front of the other. Sometimes it might only be 2 millimetres, sometimes it could be an inch, sometimes I could walk a K that day, but it's always 1 foot in front of the other. So,
were there days you went backwards?
Oh yeah. And the two weirdest days are when you go to the shops for the first time, because there's just so many people, and there's so many happy people, and there's so many complete people, and there's so many babies, and there's so many little boys, and it's just
punch in the gut.
So much, you know. And then the other time was, I understand how bogan this sounds, but like my dad and I don't have a lot of connections, but the car races up at Bathurst, he used to take my brother and I to stand on, there's a corner of the track called Murray's Corner, which, of course, when you're a kid, Dad can convince you is named after us.
You just assumed.
Of
I'm
course.
not a kid.
It was pre-named.
Correct.
Yeah,
You got me.
After a moderately interesting cable TV guy. They name those things now. And when I went back there, the first couple of months after Leo died, and I stood at the very same place where I had this connection with my father, I bawled my eyes out. So this idea of being in this really masculine, blokey place and just bawling, and that sort of like, you know, the best way I can describe it to people who haven't done grief is it's that sort of missing cat cry where your guts, it's the bottom of your, it's like you run out of air.
Did that happen publicly sometimes?
Absolutely. I mean,
How
there was
did
a couple
you
of times on
feel
TV
about
I almost did. There was a time when there was a guy we had as a guest, and we started talking about Zoe's Law, and I'm a really big supporter of Zoe's Law.
Which is the law by which the unborn children of mothers or people who want that child is protected, or there's a consequence.
Well, and put simply, as you know, it only triggers. It's not about abortion. It's not about all that stuff. But it only triggers when there is a criminal act. So it came about because there was a woman, Brodie Donegan, 38 weeks pregnant, and a car hits and kills her baby.
Driven by a drug addict.
Correct. Kills her baby. So it was about a law that
acknowledging that baby was loved and wanted and that existed
Correct.
within their own right.
But it's sort of it's gone off
very
into
confused. I agree.
really weird places and mischievous places. But we had a guest on who didn't really know
Your history?
my history, and also just was spouting off sort of Twitter level crap about Zoe's Law and it's not really, and why should personhood, and just all of this being pushed together, and I'm sitting there going, okay, and then I hit him with the question, which was, you know, is a stillborn kid a real person? Did they exist? And because we were sort of in this tough thing, he basically said no. And then I said, well, we already have a system where over 20 weeks you get a death certificate because there's a recognition that that is a life. Now, I'm very pro women's rights on abortion, whatever. This is not about that. It's about saying, when you can see them kick and you can see their little mouths in those...
And they're wanted.
Like, and you're planning and all of that. It's a real... It's phenomenal. Anyway, and I said, so why do you think that they give death certificates to stillborn babies? And he looked me in the eye with that cold TV go for the kill face, which was to make the parents feel better. And I am not at all a violent person, but this rage that started in my tippy toes that just ripped through, I've never felt it like it before.
Really?
I was so angry, and then instantly so upset that I was trying not to cry, just desperately trying not to cry, because I was like, don't tell me that Leo wasn't real. You didn't hold him, you didn't touch him, you didn't see him, you didn't kiss him. And even though he's not here, and I'm not in some state of delusion where I think my kid's still alive, I got 24 hours with that little boy, and those changed my life. They changed my life as, well, obviously as profoundly as Asher, but probably more so because it was my first moment.
Your first experience of fatherhood. Yeah. How did you get through the rest of that interview?
There was a really, really stony silence during the ad break because I was so annoyed that I basically did the Bill O'Reilly, cut his mic, kind of like I just was a...
Was he in the studio with you? Or
yeah, sitting opposite me. And it was just, you know, and he thought he'd won. Because that's, I mean, look, that's television. It's, you know, when you go on these panel shows, it's competitive. And that's fine, and I'm the ringmaster who wants it to be competitive. But to go there, and then I informed him of my life circumstance and that Leo was around, and you're talking very directly to somebody affected. But because he was so ginned up, he just didn't really say sorry. He just sort of was like, well, that's kind of awkward. And you just, you know, but it's been quite a few times where somebody tries to use Leo to hurt me. I remember people disagreed with you can disagree with my politics, fine. I said something about Gough Whitlam. Not nasty, not rude, I just wasn't as in love as everyone else was that day. And this guy tweeted, you know, so is it okay now to say that your boy Leo is dead? You know, and it's good, a good riddance sort of thing.
It was a politician, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, people send you letters because, you know, look, you know, I'm a very strong person on camera. I mean, I understand why people think that the guy on TV
and you're combative
is that the whole time, you know. So they really want to land a punch. But when somebody sends you a handwritten letter, I'm glad your kid's dead because you won't be able to pass on your poisonous political beliefs to another generation. And you just go, well, consider one across my chin.
How do you compartmentalise that?
That's not me, that's the guy on TV. I remember Bill Clinton in his book, My Life, I think it is. Very innovative title. But then again, I host a show called Paul Murray Live.
Correct.
Yeah, Daddy Paulie, that's we're launching a whole network.
That's right.
Is that he talked a lot about that, not split personality, but just that compartmentalising that there was Bill the guy, Bill the human being, Bill the president, Bill the husband, it's very sort of Baptist logic, but, you know, being on TV is a guy I know, it's not me. Like, me is talking to you, me is when we have lunch. That said, everything I say on TV, I absolutely believe, but the showbiz is the volume. The showbiz is how hard you hit and how tough you are and all of that. So I understand that some people think that that's the guy they're having a go at. So when somebody sends me a horrific letter, email or tweet, they're not sending it to me, they're sending it to that guy.
And so you can be...
Yeah, just go, meh, you sent that to the guy on TV.
I know both of you. And I once was on the show and you were going hard at Julia Gillard and we went to commercial break. And I looked at you and I said, do you really believe that? Or is this just for the show? And you looked really taken aback. And you really had to think about it. And you gave me a similar answer.
Yeah.
What sort of toll does that take, having to turn up? Because you're quite aggressive. The show's become... You're quite aggressive and punchy and feisty on the show, and it does make for great television. What cost does that take on you?
The biggest cost is when people... I don't think I appreciate that. Obviously, if the only time people see you is 1 hour a night on television, that's what they think all of you is. So, you know, there's a lot of... Like, I think I've lost... I don't know if I've lost friends, but they probably weren't real friends to begin with. But I think I have lost friends in the past 18 months as the on-air show has become not just tougher, but, you know, I mean, I think it's better, but a lot more laser-like focus.
How has it changed? How have you consciously changed it?
I don't think I ever did consciously change it. I mean, the Gillard-Rudd years were really annoying to me. They were really annoying to me. And
I thought they would have been a gift, and they're a gift to everyone in the media.
When you look back on it, you go, wow, that's... I mean, those years made me because they, you know, I had Latham, you know, who was great, dumping on Rudd, and then...
You had a lot to talk about every night.
Yeah, there was always something, and it was always very... And after 2010, forgive me for... I can't come up with a better term than this, and I repeat, I'm a bogan. I mean, the country had blue balls after 2010 because nobody won.
Yeah, right.
And you know how everyone goes a little bit nutty the week before an election because it's team red, team blue, team green, team yellow, and it's this tribal crankiness.
Yeah.
Well, after 2010, no one won. So there were...
A lot of pent-up feelings.
But a lot of people...
No release.
Both sides are just sitting in this state of... And they stayed there for 3 years, and I didn't vote for Julia Gillard in 2010, so I was on Team Blue. So you just slowly start getting more associated with that, getting angrier, and one of the things that I don't know if it's a weakness, I don't know. You can be the sole judge of this.
Oh, please.
You are the one person
will.
who will decide.
I shall decide.
Yeah, is when you all day, every day get involved in anything, so like any of these people here, you start noticing little hypocrisies in the way other people are trying to tell the story or take advantage of it or skew it or whatever. So I get quite angry at something that I see as unfair.
You don't like spin.
Yeah, I can disagree, fine, but I want to play whack-a-mole with every idiot in the world, and the problem is there are more idiots than me. So that's tiring and aggravating, and then you can become so wound up by that when you talk about the original source of the problem, so say Gillard, you just unleash. But you unleash, I'm not going to say unfairly, but upon reflection, you unleash with such ferocity because it's not just about them, it's about everyone who talks about them, all of the inaccuracies, all of the media bullshit, all of the gender politics, all of that stuff that just annoys you. So that's how the show changed, was Blue Balls 2010, frustration with the decisions they were making, and grand irritation at the stuff around them.
But I would call the show, and I would call Paul Murray Live, that person, right wing. And I bet you'll bristle at that.
Yeah, I hate it. But do you hate being called a blogger?
Yeah, I hate being called a mummy blogger.
Yeah. So there's the thing where, not everyone on...
Do you just find that it's too reductive?
Yeah, well, not everyone on talkback radio across Australia is a shock jock. But we just say shorthand for AM radio equals shock jock. Somebody on the internet is a blogger.
Who's got a uterus is a mummy blogger.
Correct. And somebody who gets shouty on television...
Is right wing.
Is right wing. And my thing is that I'm not a conservative. I'm a traditionalist. I increasingly, certainly after Leo and after being a parent for a couple of years and now having this experience, I'm really aggressive about wanting to defend the country that this kid will live in, and a lot of people automatically think that means conservative. But, I mean, pick a social issue and I'm not going to be right-wing.
And you're on the left of it.
I'm not going to be right-wing. But...
Because I know you as a cuddly ball of feelings.
Yeah, correct. With a beard.
That's right. Cuddly little ball of feelings.
Yeah.
So I know you as this cuddly ball of feelings and my friend. And then
You don't like the guy on TV.
Don't like the guy on TV anymore. I don't. I find him... I don't recognise him, and I find him also just too shouty. And I suppose that I worry for you when I see you saying, don't be mean to my guests, because we've talked about the climate that engenders.
Yeah.
It becomes shouty and aggressive, which is why women find it difficult to go on your show. Not because you're shouty at the women, you're not. You're always so completely respectful. But it provides this climate where it's okay to be aggro. And what you then cop on social media as a result of that, it unleashes the beast. It gives everyone permission.
You know, trolling, the stuff that actually hurts your feelings, my feelings, is when they somehow picked up on something that you have low self-esteem about, and I'm not talking about fat, like, you didn't read up enough on that, you know, you didn't know enough about this. Last week, something like that hurts you. I hate you, go and die, I hope you get hit by a bus, I hope somebody murders you.
That
whatever.
stuff, you don't give a shit.
Because the one thing that the internet does empower us to do that we can't do in real life...
Block?
Goodbye. like, if you do that in the real world, you go to jail.
I know.
You know, but on the internet...
I have a thing when I watch your show, and I love it, but if there's not a woman on it, I don't watch it. And it's not for, like, I'm going to make a point. It's just, I feel like it's a bunch of blokes. I feel like I can't get in there. I feel like I can't connect.
And you're 100% right, and if we have shows like that, then I've done a bad job putting the show together.
But it's hard to get women on the show.
Yes.
It's harder.
It's harder, but it's harder
because of the aggression and the fallout that you get on social media after you've been on the show.
I mean, I really dig that Janet Albrechts and Miranda Devine, Janine Perrott.
They all feel safe because they're conservative. So if you're left-leaning and a woman coming on the show, awful.
Well, this is what's interesting though, is that there is no excuse for crazy, evil, nasty stuff.
Rape threats, death threats.
Yeah. Awful.
Threats against your children and
But there are a lot of people we have had people who've come on the show, and men and women, who think that really shallow dinner party sort of insights are going to be okay on this show, and the audience tears them apart.
That's correct.
And I think that sometimes we have had female guests who have...
And male guests.
But I'm saying who have misconstrued what the reaction to them was.
And another reason I stopped doing the show was because you have to be so well prepared. And I'm too lazy, you have to, your stuff. And you can't, and I love doing it and I love being with you, but you couldn't just go on and freestyle it. It's not like going on the Today Show or doing a talkback radio. You can't. You have to know your stuff so well.
Yeah.
And it's like, Q&A level well.
It's very nice.
And because you are so smart and you know so much and you can go anywhere, and you're always very gracious to your guests, and you never try to humiliate your guests. You're a gracious host.
As I always say, I host the show by the whites of your eyes.
Yes.
And if I, and like 9 out of 10 people...
And I'll always go like this, the economy.
Correct. But 9 out of 10 people will, 9 out of 10 TV hosts will go, she's a bit vulnerable on this, bang.
You're the opposite.
But my thing is that I go, no, somewhere else, no, somewhere else, no, somewhere else. Because my whole thing is that I want everyone who's on the show to come out looking great about at least one thing. I want them to go, you know what? Mia really...
She knows her stuff about that one tiny thing.
Stop it, you're underselling yourself. I don't have a warehouse full of people working for me. You're going all right, okay? So, I mean, I feel very anxious about the treatment of left-wing female guests. I don't like it. I'm embarrassed by it. But there's also this thing where what that forces you to do, rather, I should say, is that the people you do search out have to be the more established political people, the hardened people.
True.
But my very genuine advice to people on the left is come and play, because firstly, I'd like to test your ideas, but secondly, I want you to test me. But I don't want to live in an echo chamber. Yeah. This is the thing. Most people on television want to live in an echo chamber of how awesome are you, how smart are you. I agree completely.
That's true.
I want somebody to come on and say, Paul, that's bullshit.
And your show is always better when there's disagreement, when there's like you and Janet and someone else are going in furious agreement, and Alexander Downer all going, yep, I absolutely agree. Where's the friction?
Those shows rate very well, though.
Yeah, but then less interesting as a viewer to me.
I know what you're saying.
Because, I'm further left, it's less interesting as a viewer. What happened with radio? Why didn't you do Merrick in the afternoon?
I wasn't allowed to.
On Triple M.
Put very simply, I wasn't allowed to.
Why not? You used to do radio, you used to have ridiculous number of jobs, like 100 jobs.
Yeah.
You did radio in the afternoon, and then like a crazy person, you would go and work Sky News at night.
Yep, and then I had radio in the morning, and then radio at night.
Then you're working each end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, there was a moment when Triple M was putting together their drive show. Merrick was the man, and Mez was very cool and said, do you want to come and play? I absolutely wanted to play because I like radio.
You wanted to work that hard again?
Yeah, but it's not working hard. It's like, I'm the kid who always wanted to do this. So the chance to do it isn't work. It's not. It's the chance to do it. It's the chance to be the guy inside the radio. Because...
Is it like, pinch me, I can't believe I'm getting the chance to do this? Why would I say no to anything?
Well, but also, I mean, the radio was a big coping mechanism for me during my childhood. Now, I'm not going to pretend that it was, eating dirt and being beaten 5 times a day, but...
It wasn't Angela's Ashes.
Yeah, correct. But it...
Struggle Street.
It wasn't entirely too far from that. And... Yeah, certainly not the beatings, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, and
no silver spoon in your mouth.
no, I wouldn't spoon across my ass.
Yeah, right.
Is that and I used to have a clock radio. I don't know, like really single figures. The year 3s when Mum and Dad broke up, so not far after that. I had a clock radio that only had AM radio that could listen to AM. So I'd flick up and down the dial and you'd hear these guys, and they were so complete and confident and happy that I went, I want to be that guy one day. And I was lucky enough to have enough skill to be able to get in there and enough passion. And part of wanting to work on the radio was wanting to be that happy. Of course, what I didn't understand as a kid, and you don't process as a teenager, and you don't think about when you're 20, is that's a performance in the same way the television thing. That's another guy. So guess what? Just working on the radio doesn't make you smart, happy, healthy, funny. But what I love about the organism of the radio station, and have been able to have at the TV station, I don't want anyone to think I don't love that, is, you know, it's a moment to be a cool kid. It's a moment to be sort of worth something. And that's an amazing feeling. So they came and asked, but Sky News amazingly wrapped me in quite a lot of love.
A lot of money, love?
Yes.
They wrapped you in $100 bills. And then some.
Yes. And you know,
to get you out of radio and to have them all to have you all to themselves.
Yeah, correct.
And didn't want to share.
No.
You can't even write for me.
No, I can't. I know. And you know, I've tried to come up with like a female pseudonym. I don't know what it would be. Yeah, it'll be Paula.
Petra.
Petra.
Murray. I've heard Petria King talk about grief. I
Yeah.
want to go back to Leo for a second. About time. And people love to talk about closure. And people love to talk about healing.
Such bullshit.
She says you grow more comfortable with the discomfort. Do you think that's true? It's been 2.5 years.
There will forever be a Leo-sized hole in my heart. And there will be a Leo-sized hole in my soul for the rest of my life. And he deserves that. And I want to give that to him every day. Because the second I pretend that my son dying doesn't mean anything anymore, or I'm over it, is when the ultimate disrespect is paid. Now, the world moves on, your friends move on, your family moves on, because they have to. The totality of crappy things that have happened in human history, if we all collectively absorb them, we'd collapse.
Do you feel like people don't want to hear you talk about him anymore?
Absolutely. There's a thing I do on Facebook on the 18th and 19th, which was the 18th when he was born and the 19th when he died, is I'll say "Go Yankees," which is our little code for love, or a sunflower, which is the thing that we celebrate him with. I don't do that. It's beautiful when people like it and write, "We miss you, Leo." I don't do it to force him upon you. It's just, this is how we express ourselves now.
It's not for anyone else.
Yeah, it's the electronic tattoo of being able to say, today, Leo's Day. So I know that there would be people in my friendship feed who go,
Are we still talking about that?
Yeah.
No, we still.
You know, and my dad said to me when Asher was born, and
People mean well.
he was
They always
clumsy.
mean well.
He was just clumsy when he said, "Oh, you know, you're a dad. I've always been a dad." It must be, and you know, you've had these experiences where the scales aren't evened out. There's just a scale called Leo, and now there's a scale called Asher, and there's a scale called work, and there's a scale called my wife and friends. And they're different. It's not one balance of happiness. Because Leo's scale is that, and I'll fiercely protect that, and that includes his honour. Yeah.
Does it feel like you owe him? No, you owe him something, but human nature can't stay in that state of severe grief.
No.
You can't.
No.
You'd be in the fetal position. You couldn't go on.
Correct.
You have to move on from that. It has to hurt a little bit less.
Yeah.
Does that ever feel like a betrayal?
Yeah, absolutely. The first day you don't cry, like way back when, feels like a betrayal. The first 18th that you forget is the 18th. The first Tuesday at 4 a.m, all of those fresh hours, minutes, days, you feel guilty about that.
Because at first, you collect all these significant events and times and things and dates, and you can't sort of hold on to them. They do start to drift away in a way, don't they?
So for me, it's you end up sort of bundling it all into Go Yankees, or you bundle it all into the sunflower, or you bundle it all into all the little things we do. You feel guilty at first. And also, the only other time that I do feel guilty is when people say, so how many kids do you have?
How do you answer that question? It's the perennial one for anyone who's lost.
I've always said, before Asher was like, I've got a son. Oh, really? How old is he? Oh, he died. And then they look at you. And then I always say, I let them off the hook. Where I say, it's okay, you didn't do it. It's okay. But my belief is that people need to know that babies die. It's shit. It's the worstest thing you can go through. You know this. But you let them off the hook.
Yeah, but it's funny, we talk about, I've got a girlfriend, my friend Rebecca Sparrow, who had a stillborn daughter, and we talk about, I lost a baby at, 20 weeks or so, and we talk about, that a miscarriage at 6 weeks is not the same as, there are stages, and you get, you're higher up the totem pole of winning the awards, and she always says, it's awful, she always says if there was a prize for grief, Denise Morcombe would win it.
Yes.
And the rest of us are somewhere below that.
Correct. Those people. But see, that was one of the angriest nights I ever had on television, was the night Geoffrey Rush won Australian of the Year over them. I was so pissed off. Because they are the example of how to put a foot in front of the other and cry and collapse. And they're not just pretending, it's done.
And nearly have it destroy you very publicly.
I think that is the greatest missed moment, because their name should be in history with all of those incredible people, because they are incredible people.
I've seen you struggle over the last couple of years whenever you've had to report, and I'll often text you because I'll hear it in your voice, when there's anything about children.
Yeah.
I'm the same, but I don't have to get up and talk about it every night like you do. When there's someone's hurt a child or, heaven forbid, killed a child, that's hard for you.
Or left a baby in a drain, the idea of an unwanted kid, or I understand
a neglected child.
Yeah. And I understand how complicated.
Doesn't matter. It's still then hard for you to report that without all of your emotion.
Well, certainly when I worked on the radio, in talkback radio, every 5 minutes it's a crime story, and every 5 minutes it does involve a child. I just said to my producers, don't bring this to me, I can't handle it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. But on telly, when these things come up, you do struggle, but they're what inform you. They're what make you more emotionally intelligent. And my whole thing is that everyone says, oh, that shouldn't happen to a kid. But when you've got a different emotional skin in the game, say these Knox people, right?
Knox Grammar, the school, and the abuse of the children,
I reckon my most passionate, aggressive, bloody-fanged editorials have been on...
Down the barrel at the start of the show when you just...
Bang! Was that anyone who goes to that Royal Commission and says, I didn't know you were supposed to tell the police. Bullshit.
Yeah. And the rabbis and the priests
and the Hillsong guy and all of this stuff.
I didn't know.
Yeah, it's just rubbish.
You dealt with it internally.
But the thing is that you don't need a handbook to be told, child, vulnerable, human response is, how can I help? That's it. Anything else is sort of sociopathic. So when it becomes institutionally sociopathic, I yell and scream. So now how I deal with bad stories about kids is to go, I'm going to fight the fight for them. And if I can poke you in the chest the way that kid couldn't because you viewed them as less or they were too little or you physically overpowered them, whatever, then I will poke you in the chest. Like everyone, we all have these senses of right and wrong, but this is really my right and wrong.
I had one more question. When you think of Leo now, as I imagine you do a lot, do you think about him as he was when he was alive and then after he died, or do you think about him as he would have been at this age, which is 2.5?
I gave a toddler a cuddle on my way out of the house today. Every day. Every day he's different. He doesn't really have a face. He might have a little bit of a voice, but like if I'm lying in bed in the morning, I'll hear just a little run.
Yeah.
It's not a delusion that he's alive.
No.
But it's just me saying, I want to play out the movie of this little man for as long as I live. And that includes when he breaks my heart, when I break his heart, when something hurts him, all of that. I want that. I want that to, and
better or worse.
I want to be there at his wedding, and I want to be there when she leaves him. When, you know what I mean? All of that. I want
You optimist.
No, well,
yeah, no, I hear you.
If he's his father's son. But I was going to say, there was one thing I wanted to say about the difference between Asher and Leo and boys and girls. And you know Sian, my wife. I'm so glad that there is a chance of another human being like Sian. Because I hope that her daughter is like her mother. Because if that's the case, then it got better. The world got better. She's, every husband will say it.
No, they won't.
But
They won't.
she's and Asher has the chance to be everything I love about Sian.
And you've walked to hell together and back.
Yeah. And then, so I don't care about shitty nappies. I love them.
Have you been vomited on yet?
No, wee poo. It's a lot of wee and poo, and she just girls over boys. This you all. There must be something
At
that.
least you can't wee in your face.
Well, correct, but
She can't.
correct, but it's when she does that, and then she just gives that little smirk, and I just go.
Oh, you're ruined.
I'm buying you a
You are
car.
ruined for her.
I'm buying you a car, and God forbid the person who hits that car.
You're going to be a feminist. She's going to make you a feminist. I mean, you are a feminist anyway.
Yeah.
But
Thank you. And I've got to say,
you're absolutely a
but
feminist.
there are a lot of people who seek to have the power of your voice and this forum, and ape it and copy it and whatever, who would throw me under the bus, put devil horns on me, call me all of that. So for you to say it publicly, to say it privately,
Oh, you're a champion of
like
women.
that, but I'm serious, that means the world to me, because it's more important to me to have some people who know me,
Who know you.
rather than, I don't need an award for affirmation, but what you just said then makes me walk taller, and I appreciate it. Boom. Love you.
Thanks for listening to the No Filter podcast series. Please subscribe and tune in next time to hear me talk to Megan Ramsey, who's a body image advocate. Find out more about this podcast on the Mamamia Podcast Network's Facebook page or on my Facebook page, which you can find at Mia Friedman online. This podcast was produced by Monique Bowley, researched by Eliza Ratliff, and hosted by me, Mia Friedman. See you next time.